This is probably a dumb idea for a video, but I'm gonna do it anyway. Hi, my name is Jake, and I am a bookish drummer. We've all seen 5-star prediction videos, but you probably haven't seen too many 3-star prediction videos. Until today. Let's talk about books that I think are going to be mediocre. So yeah, these are basically books that I think I'm going to give 3 stars to. Books that I'm not exactly excited to read. Books that I think, aren't going to live up to... I don't know. I think these books are going to... I think I'm going to give them 3 stars. That's what I'm trying to say here. Let's jump right into it. I will say when I was picking out books that I thought could fit for this video, there's a surprising amount of books that are by my favorite authors, which I did not expect. The first one I have to talk about is Wild Cards, which technically George R.R. Martin is a part of this series, but mainly he's the creator and the editor, so he doesn't necessarily write for all of these books. Either way, from what I gather, this book is about, it's about superheroes in kind of like the World War II era. I'm not a big World War II person, and I'm also not a big superhero person. So I've kind of avoided this book and I put it off for a long time, but I also don't expect to give it 5 stars, so probably it'll be an average book. 3 stars, give or take. Another book that I don't necessarily have too high hopes for would be The Dilemma by B.A. Paris. She was the author of one of my all-time favorite thrillers, Behind Closed Doors. It's a great book, one of my all-time favorite thrillers. But she also wrote a book called The Breakdown, which I wasn't a huge fan of. I thought it was pretty mediocre. I think I probably gave it 3 stars. And looking on Goodreads, this is pretty much one of the only books that has pretty good ratings. So even though I will eventually give this book a shot, I don't have high hopes and it'll probably be mediocre. Hopefully not. Hopefully I love it, but I don't know. Another book I bought a while ago that I've never really been in the mood for is a horror book called The Hunger by Alma Katsu. It's about the Donner Party and cannibalism, so it sounds interesting. I've just never really been in the mood for it, and I know whenever I do eventually pick it up that it's really going to go either way with me. And even though it's blurbed by Stephen King, never trust his blurbs. He probably didn't even read it.
That's not true. I read the book. I read it.
Oh yeah, Steve, who's the main character?
That's easy. The main character's name is Donner Party.
That's the name of the group of people, not the main character.
I don't have to sit here and explain myself to you. Go fuck yourself.
Okay. Anyway, I hope it's good, but again, no real high hopes for it. Hopefully I'm wrong. It's funny because in the 5-star predictions, you hope that you're right, but in 3-star predictions, hopefully you're wrong. I guess you could still be wrong and give it a lower rating. Like you predict it's going to be 3 stars, but you DNF it or you give it 1 star. I don't know. The next book I have here is The Possession by Michael Rutger. Last month, I read the first book in the series, The Anomaly, and I liked it well enough. I gave it 3.5 stars. So I went ahead and bought the sequel just because it was relatively cheap. I highly doubt that it's going to be a mind-blowing experience for me. And from what I see and gather on Goodreads, this book is supposed to be much worse. Hopefully not. Hopefully I do enjoy it, but I don't know. The next book I have here is Tower of Fools by Andrzej Sapkowski, the same author who wrote the Witcher series. And the Witcher series is my third all-time favorite fantasy series. So you'd think that, another book by the same author, I would hope would be, like a 5-star prediction. But it's always difficult for an author to kind of jump into a new series with a different cast of characters, different setting, and to hope that the reader will enjoy it. Maybe not as much as the series that you're known for, but hopefully, find it appealing. And I've kind of heard mixed things about this book. I've never really heard anyone rave about this book, at least not as much as people rave about the Witcher series. And I know Alan from the Library of Alexandria did not enjoy this book, and he's even a big history buff, and this is supposed to have a lot of, I don't know, historical value to it, but even he thought this book was just boring. And it's also a pretty chunky book. It's a lot longer than most of the books in the Witcher series, so that doesn't suit well for it either. So even though I hope I'm wrong about it, it's probably going to be mediocre. The next book I have is the sequel to A Darker Shade of Magic, and that would be The Gathering... Oh god, what is the title? A Gathering of Shadows by V.E. Schwab. Darker Shade of Magic, I enjoyed for the most part. I gave it 4 stars. I wasn't blown away by it. I did like the 2 main characters, and whenever we got the story from their perspective, I definitely enjoyed it, but whenever we would get anyone else, I was just completely disinterested. I also didn't think the villains in the story were compelling at all. I did enjoy those 2 main characters, and I definitely thought the premise was very cool. This is a book that I'm definitely hoping I'm wrong about, but I've heard not great things about the series, so I'm not expecting too much from it. The next book I have here is Colorless Zukuru Tazaki by Haruki Murakami. And Haruki Murakami is one of my all-time favorite authors. I love most of his books. I've tried reading this book before, and I DNF'd it. His books are oftentimes very weird and absurd, and just crazy, weird stuff happens. But for the most part, like the first 100 pages of this book was very tame and kind of bland, and nothing crazy was happening. It was just kind of like regular life, and I was not expecting that. Whenever I try to pick this book up again, though, I will, have that mindset in my mind, and I will go into it knowing that it's going to be a bit more normal than usual. But even though I will know that, I probably won't like it as much as some of his other books. This next book is by one of my all-time favorite authors. I've read 7 of her books. One of them got 4.5 stars. The other 6 I gave 5 stars, including this book. But all of those books that I've read were more on the mystery and thriller side of things, while her front catalog, the books that she wrote early in her career, are more kind of contemporary romancy kind of books. And one of them that I do have is 31 Dream Street. So even though I really do like her writing style, I'm not quite sure I'm going to like this book nearly as much as her newer books. But you never know. It could be a new favorite of mine. It won't be. Another one of my all-time favorite authors is Michael Crichton, and I've read most of his books, but there's a few books that I've kind of put off through the years that I've never really been interested in. One of them is Timeline. Most of his books are pretty interesting to me and for a lot of people because the basic premise or the plot around the book is surrounded by pretty cool and interesting real-life scientific phenomenon. And the way that he writes the stories, you feel that a lot of these things are possible and they could happen. But with this book and it being about time travel, it's I mean, I'm sure he has some sort of scientific explanation for what is going on, but it probably seems like it's going to be more fantastical, and I'm not sure if I'll enjoy that, at least from Michael Crichton's writing style. So I've had this book for a very long time, and I've put it off for a very long time, but I will eventually get to it, and when I do, again, I'm a broken record here. I hope I'll enjoy it. I don't think I will, though. We'll see. The last book I have to talk about in this video is by my third favorite author of all time, Brandon Sanderson. And no, it's not one of his Cosmere books, and no, it's not one of his young adult books. It's actually Legion. This is actually a sci-fi series that's made up of 3 novellas, I think. And actually, I'm kind of cheating with this because I've already read the first book or novella in this collection. I read it years ago. I wasn't a huge fan of it. It was fine. Probably gave it around 3 stars. So I know that reading or rereading the first one and then going back and reading the second and the third one, it'll probably be the same. Like, it'll be fine, but nothing spectacular. I know Brandon Sanderson loves branching out and trying new things and experimenting with different genres, but for my money, he should just stick with epic fantasy. Alright, so those are all the books I have to talk about in this video. All the books that I don't think I'll hate necessarily, but I definitely don't envision these books being 5-star reads for me either. They're more than likely going to be 3 stars. So in saying that, have you guys read any of these books? And if you have, what did you think of them? Did you love them? Did you hate them? Were you kind of meh about them? Do you guys have any books that you've acquired that you're kind of hesitant to pick up because you know that you're probably not going to enjoy them as much as you thought you were when you first bought them? Do you think you're going to give any of the books on your bookshelves 3 stars? Either way, let me know down in the comments below. And as always, if you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. Thank you so much for watching and have a terrific day.